Recording in
Hello.
Oh my God. Okay. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm just seeing there's a 712 number that just wants in. I'm gonna see if that's Sam because I have no idea who that is.
Okay. Let me make sure my phone and stuff is off too.
712-799. Yes. Okay. Before I like let some rando in, right? How are you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I was like, when you first told me about this, I was like, awesome. I was like, oh God, I gotta get something for my son. And luckily my son got into a program last week, so he is gone in the morning. So I was like, thank God that evened out.
Seriously, I don't know how you get anything done with the home. Oh, I think I'm frozen. Hold on. I'm just trying to pull up a little welcome slide here. And then I am going to go to the bathroom because I've been on back-to-back meetings all morning. But
Understood.
so quick, hey Sam, I see you're here but on mute. So do you have anything you want to present, or do you want to just talk? Oops.
I just have my PowerPoint and then I was just gonna show like an example.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm saying it to you can present. I just set Zoom, so I just have this little like welcome. So what I'll do is start. I'll kick it off. Just here we are. So excited to meet. Adriana or Adriana. Why can't I remember that?
It's okay, Adriana.
Good. Um, there's this poor woman that I have been working with that like literally every time I say her name wrong, and because it's Caroline, and I'm like Carolyn. It's Carolyn. She's like it's Caroline. I'm like damn it. I'll just, we're so excited to have Adriana here from the Lazy Millenial. Here's sort of what to expect, and then I'll hand it over to you to introduce yourself in whatever way you see fit. I'll X out of the sharing so you can share, and depending, we have a lot of people registered, but as you know, sometimes no one shows up, sometimes 100 people show up. So, I will ask questions, and if it's like slow and there's not a lot of questions and comments, we'll just be kind of fireside chat. But I have a feeling that a lot of people will have comments. And so Sam and I will keep an eye on the chat box.
Okay.
We always encourage people to really like just,
Yeah.
Talk. So I'm going to just like run to the restroom, refresh my water. We've already got people in the waiting room, so I'll let them in right at time.
All right, sounds good.
I love you. I'm just trying to like get Zoom on my phone because my computer sucks. So
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't get me started on mine. Like, I'm just hoping it lasts at least one more month. 'Cause I made the summer slower on purpose so I can kind of get things in order. And I'm still like trying to go like halfway down the list. But anyway, yeah. So I understand.
yes, I just want to sign into Zoom. This is why we start early. Okay, we're just going to do it this way. I just might not have my video on, and that is fine. If Sam and if I break up, or Adriana, just chat me, Adriana, if I break up.
Got it.
Well, I'll keep working on it. But we have a few people coming in. Good
Awesome.
morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a minute. I love that everyone is so prompt. A+. We've got a really great group of folks registered today, so we're excited to see everyone here.
I'm just like looking at some of the photos. I was like, I like some of these photos.
Yes, I know. I love it. Lots of
recording in progress.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're echoey though.
Yep. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Love it. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. We've got a really great group here, and I'm sure people will trickle in. But for the sake of time, because I know we have tons and tons of questions for Adriana, let's be timely as another person comes in. I love it. Well, welcome to Giant Squid Group's second July Lunch and Learn. It has been a summer of learning, and I'm so excited to see new faces and, well, our names, new faces and faces I don't recognize. So welcome everyone. So for those of you who haven't been to a Lunch and Learn in a while, or if this is your first Lunch and Learn, welcome. I am Kat, or Catherine, of Giant Squid Group, and we are a social impact consulting agency that works with small and startup nonprofits to help them build their fundraising capacity. And I have had the pleasure to work with some of you and hope to grow that. So we are really excited to have Adriana of the Lazy Millenial here today. And it's a little bit of a departure for us because Adriana had the sense to not join the nonprofit sector, but helps people figure out how to run businesses and helps nonprofits how to sort of get their SOPs, standard operating procedures, processes, whatever we call it, in place. So she has some slides to share with us and some expertise to share with us, which is great. This is totally your time. This is a Q&A. So feel free to turn on your camera, unmute if you want. You can raise your hand, you can chat, or you can just speak up with questions. We will have plenty of time for conversation and Q&A with Adriana, but if you have a burning question or clarification, don't wait until the end. And then after we wrap up, I'll share a few great things that are coming down the pipeline and invite y'all to do the same. So without further ado, I am going to stop sharing and hand it over to Adriana for introductions and to help us get our shit together.
Awesome. That is exactly what I'm here for. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Don't worry, y'all. It's not going to be super boring, I promise. Well, I can't really say that. But anyway, I'm going to try and make it somewhat upbeat because standard operating procedures are kind of boring because no one wants to do it. It's often overlooked. And That's honestly why a lot of people kind of struggle, because when it comes time to like really building, getting structured and organized, they realize they don't have this in place and they actually needed it from the beginning. And it just, I'm putting myself out there. That's what happened to me when I was building my business. I ended up scaling, hiring a team, getting all this stuff, and I didn't have this in place and things were just a hot mess. And yeah, so I started doing this so I can just help other people avoid what I went through, spending hurtful amounts of money on people and stuff, not being able to utilize it. And yeah, anyway, just to get started, why, well, in particular, get it together, why nonprofits need to prioritize that standard operating procedures. I'm a board member currently for a local nonprofit, and I've always kind of been in and out of nonprofits on boards just because I just like the work, like doing stuff, I like helping. I mean, you kind of tell like this is what I'm doing. So let's gonna get started. If my thing will act right. All right. So first things first, who am I? What is a lazy millennial and all that jazz? So I'm Adriana. I wasn't always a lazy millennial and I always did not go like that. So I started out as a virtual assistant back in 2018. Ironically enough, the founder of the nonprofit I was working on, a board member of, actually encouraged me to start virtual assistant because I was in charge of keeping everything organized, which kind of made sense why I did the virtual assistant thing. Keeping everything organized in that nonprofit, making sure people were communicating with each other, all that stuff. So she was just like, you know, you can make it to a business, you can do this. And I was like, okay, whatever. So just to fast forward things just a bit to 2020, when I kind of did the switch over to doing standard operating procedures and changing my title to an online business manager. Just because I was getting people, getting clients, and then I always noticed that there was something missing, like people needed help, but there was always like that component, like, okay, they need help, but there's something that's missing there. And after some digging, I realized it was a standard operating procedure, just to save time. And actually this year, I think in March, I actually just changed it to Lazy Millenial because I was like, you know what? People need this, like we need to really like focus on this, but like just saying that we need it wasn't enough. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna change my whole branding. I'm gonna go under the Lazy Millennial because a lot of times people see lazy and it's like, okay, what the heck is that? And all it is creating the structure beforehand just so you can live like lazily down the line. So procedures is a huge component of that. So that's pretty much the gist of me and the Lazy Millennial. And I just kind of put, I already said that, I am a current board member of Postpartum Support Charleston, and I was a part of I Am Voices and some other things, but those are the most recent ones I've been a part of. And I want to hop right in. So what are standard operating procedures, your SOP? This is your business blueprint. So long story short, I like to describe it as if you were to leave today or if someone were to take over today in your nonprofit, your business, whatever, would things be able to flow smoothly? So or flow as if you weren't there. So this is what it is. I know there's a lot of different information with SOP because a lot of times people use it like in their marketing or their terms, like, oh yeah, you need an SOP for that. And a lot of times they refer to like the employee handbook or policy handbook, which is why I have that on there. And it's so much more than that because it's your whole blueprint of like your entire business or organization or company. Like employee handbook, policy handbooks are a part of it, but it's not all that is made up to be. So I kind of did it different. So what exactly is the SOP? The what, like where the different components kind of come in, like your policies, they tell you what things are. So I'll say like an example, telling somebody they need to organize the files. I'm trying to think of something I did for nonprofits. Having to organize like the computer files, that's telling the what, like we organize this by whatever, we have to organize something. We have to organize paperwork. Organizing paperwork, that's telling the what. You're telling the person what to do. And then the how is what is the actual standard operating procedure. The how, you need to organize this, but you need to organize it by like putting this in this folder on this day, yada, yada, yada. You break down everything. So that's what makes it a complete like procedure. SOP, like your operating procedure, that makes it complete. When you just say what it is, it's not enough because people aren't going to really, you would hope they would, but they're not always going to be able to tell, or things get misconstrued. Like this kind of just cuts out all the middleman. Like this tells you exactly what to do, how to do it. Like there should be like no room for miscommunication in this part. So that's what makes it a complete standard operating procedure. And I, instead of just talking about it, I thought it'd be easier just to kind of like show how mine is set up for like my business and my team. So I'm going to skip out of this really quick and just kind of flip it over, because I like showing examples. I don't like talking from a PowerPoint the whole time because it gets kind of boring. So everybody houses their standard operating procedures differently. I have mine in a project management tool, ClickUp, but I also have a PDF version because technology, like, stuff happens. But I want people to have an actual, this is easier access for my team, but like I want something else too, so that way if something were to happen, like this shut down, glitched, whatever, I have a backup plan so people know. And then eventually we'll get to estate planning, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just going to focus on here now. So with the standard operating procedures, all it is telling like the what. So like with my team, this is like the team onboarding process. Like whenever they come in, they have like the videos they're supposed to look at. And a good standard operating procedure, again, it doesn't have to be in a project management tool. It can be in Google Drive, it could be a Google Doc. But what you want to do is make sure that you, one, I like to say, keep it short, because I'm trying to think what I was going to say. Keep things on the shorter end, because people don't, a lot of people don't tend to read, sadly. So just to put it out there, people don't really like to read. So like I have one part where like you just kind of keep it brief, like, okay, this is what you do. Like I said, the policy is the what. You say what they're supposed to do. And then I like telling people to have videos because it's more, everyone's visual. Like, TikTok's blowing up. We have Instagram. We have all this other stuff that's kind of blowing up. And you want to stay with the current trends. So having videos is ideal whenever you're doing your procedures, so they can actually like see what's happening. And you can talk through it. And then like I always encourage people to do closed captions with them, because you never know who you're going to have. And another thing too, like organizations sometimes skip the inclusion, disability and everything. So like try to include as much as we can for other people, like whenever you're talking about this stuff, because you just want to include everybody. But yeah, so for mine, like the standard operating procedure, you kind of give like a brief description, the policy, the what, and then the video kind of breaks it down, the actual what, the who, how to get there, and how often, all that stuff. And then also too, I just am extra. They can actually click the video and have this, but I just concluded this in the caption, like a full transcript for, so those that like to read, they actually have like the step-by-step transcript from the video. They can just read that if they don't want to watch video. But again, I'm extra because I do this setup a lot. So I have to make sure I have like every component covered when it comes to this stuff. But you don't have to be as detailed as this, but you want to make sure you're detailed enough so that, because like nonprofits, like we have our board members, like everyone should be like on the same page with everything. So a lot of times too, like I'll say like some of the nonprofits I was a part of, communication wasn't really there. Like we were told what to do and kind of sort of how to do it. Like things are still trying to figure it out, especially in the beginning stages, because we're so focused on like trying to, I say this is for everybody. Like we're so focused on the marketing, trying to get our names out there, trying to do this, that, and the third. We kind of forget about this foundational part when it comes to doing this. So this kind of helps. It doesn't have to be this structured, but like, of course, just having a set document, a set place where your board members can actually view where everything is and kind of can keep up with you is very ideal. So that way, even if you do kind of go off and do something, you'll have that board member like me. I'll say I was always the admin person. So like me, I'm actually able to tell other people like, hey, like, okay, you're doing finances, make sure you have this done. You have this is what she's trying to aim for. So in addition to just having like the breakdown of how you do stuff in your business, you want to make sure too, like I'm just gonna show mine, like they know what happened in the welcome video. Like I break down like the vision of the business and all this other stuff, the mission, what we're trying to do, the goals, all that stuff is also included inside your standard operating procedures, because you want whoever's on your board to actually, they're representing you. So you want everybody to be on the same page. So like every little thing you can think of should be inside your standard operating procedure, because again, it's your blueprint. It's not just for like, you do this and this is how you do it, but you want everybody to just have like the mindset, they come in like, oh, okay, like she does. Oh, okay. Like for Lazy Millenial, whenever my team members come through, they're like, oh, okay, Lazy Millenial, what the heck is that? And like when they finally get through, like they understand like the mission, like, oh, okay, I see. She's trying to help other people with their foundational building. So that way when people come to them, they understand, they know the business, even though they're not technically like well, for me, I have contracts. So they're not employees, but like if someone were to ask them something about the Lazy Millennial, they're gonna know and they're gonna be able to coherently say that. So I go on a tangent about that because it's so important, like more so than just like the employee or contractor, how to do stuff. Like that part is really key, like the mission and vision. If they don't understand anything else, they got to understand the mission and vision of your business because they're going to help you run it. And if they don't understand that, then it's not going to work out well. I'm just going to say that. And I'm just going to go off to my last little, or I think I have another slide after this. Okay, so just to kind of bring it back a little bit. So why is it important for nonprofits, like extra focus on standard operating procedure? I kind of talked about it, but I'm gonna say it again. Like one, you're the leader with the vision. You are key, like any business owner, whatever you're running, like we are key. We are the driving force. It's our vision and other people are just helping us bring it to life. So we have to make sure we have that, especially with nonprofits. Like we want people to understand, like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing it for this reason, and like everybody should get that. So we want to make sure like the vision, if anything else, is clear, especially in their standard operating procedure. Have that down somewhere, first page, boom, mission, vision, this is what I'm doing. Then we can kind of like lead into all the other stuff, like the goals, finances, all that other stuff. But that has to be in there. And then also leading down, I just put grants, but one of my clients actually like helped run different nonprofits and everything. And one of the top like things people struggled with was having like enough financial records and just information down and as a whole to actually like apply for grants and all this stuff. Inside your standard operating procedures, there is a financial section, I'm mixing up my words. It's a financial section that you should have, and it can be something as simple as copy and pasting a link from a payment processor, like, okay, this is what we had this month, or writing down your goals, like, okay, we're trying to raise this amount. What services, what products, what kind of stuff do we need to put out in the public so we can bring the money in? Because nonprofit is not always going to get grants. Like a lot of times it's going to be out of pocket, especially for the first few years. For some, it ranges, but I'll say the first few years is out of pocket. So you want to make sure you're documenting that stuff, how much money each month is bringing in, what's coming out, all that stuff. So all that, of course, because again, standard operating procedures is your blueprint. It has to be in some section in your SOP to have your finances inside. So I just put grants, but like overall finances, like you want to keep that document even more so because you want to get grants. They want to be like, okay, where is this money going at exactly? What are you using this money for? And like you can kind of say stuff, but people want to see documents. They want to see like you actually like thought it out and like really put some thought in it. I'll just keep it like that. You put some thought in it. They want to see that. So just getting a head start and documenting that stuff now is really, really helpful. So yeah. So I was gonna end that. Communication. Communication. I have my project management tool because my people don't really read emails. I'm gonna be honest, my people don't really read emails, and this was like one of the easier ways for me because we can have like a chat feature and some other things, so we can kind of like keep in touch. Like, okay, I'll say I sent out an email, but at the same time, I'll be like, okay, this is in the email, but also I'm putting it here just so y'all know. So I don't leave room for people to say they didn't get something. So wherever you keep your standard operating procedure, I recommend project management tools or some kind of tool where you can kind of have like a communication thing attached to it or something, just because things get lost. And then, communication. Oh my God, I could go on and on about that, but I'm just gonna say that for another day. I'm gonna stick to the standard operating procedures, but communication, you wanna have a central hub of where y'all are communicating at. So if you don't have it inside your standard operating procedure, just find something to keep in addition to email. I say in addition to email because we all know how it is. Like people aren't really checking it too much. But anyway, just a central hub. Figure out how you want to do that. And of course, document if it's like a system. Like I used Slack before, so I'll tell them like, hey, this is in the Slack channel. This is how you use Slack. This is how you navigate it. Right there. So they have that as well. And yeah, that's all I really want to say about that. I'm not gonna keep going in. And I'm gonna keep the last thing, keeping everything organized. Everything kind of like falls in, like you have your vision, your financial records, all that stuff. You have to find a way to stay organized. for me, I am very old fashioned. So I still like using Google Docs for a lot of my stuff. So I'll just add links. Like even though I have the project management tool, I'll have links to like Google Docs. So like, okay, they ask me, hey, where's this at? Or where's this file at? I'll just look in like, okay, whatever component I have, I'll look, click the link. Okay, here it is. Like, there you go. So keeping links and everything just is helpful. However you want to do it. Also, I had one of my clients, she refused to be in a project management tool. We just set up folders in Google Drive and just just had it done that way. Whatever was easier for her. I still had her do videos just because of course it's just a lot easier. And then we just use links to kind of go back and forth and like made note of what everything was. But overall, it's yours. So there's no right or wrong way. As long as you have a central way where you can keep organized, because at the end of the day, everything is yours. This is your stuff. If you don't feel comfortable having a project management tool, don't have one. Have it in Google Drive. Word. I can't think of all the different programs right now, but if you want to have it in Word, wherever you want to keep it, it's yours. So have at it. But just make sure you know where everything is at and can backtrack everything. So there's that. And yeah, that's it. I decided to keep it short because I can run my mouth a lot about different things, but we keep it basic. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, and y'all can find me under the Lazy Millenial pretty much everywhere.
I love it. I am having and I would love to hear from other people, like flashbacks to all of the times where I worked at places that didn't have any internal processes or SOPs. Like one time I had a client who got a grant, but they didn't have any process for what happened when a check came in and a grant contract came in. It had all been very ad hoc. And so someone just stuck the grant award letter on a desk somewhere, and literally a year later we got the email that was like, hey, you have a report overdue. And so we missed the reporting deadline. And then when they finally dug it up, there was this thing like they had wanted to see a site visit, and they had said they wanted to do all these things, and it totally jeopardized that funder relationship because there was no process for what happened after we got the money. It was just like, yeah, we got the money, now what? And I think that there's so many opportunities, even with gift processing. Like, what do you do when a check comes in or a credit card payment comes in? Because I think we often think of it, that is the end, right? Like, we did it, yay.
Yeah.
That should be the start of a process. So I would love to hear from other folks, how, what organizational challenges you have, or is your head reeling right now? If it is, that's okay. Let's pick Adriana's brain.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm here for.
Hi, Kathy, Adriana. This is Dr. Kim with Play Like a Girl. I am preparing for vacation, so I'm in no shape to be seen today. But thank you, because one, we have been going through this process of preparing SOPs, and unfortunately, my one and only staff person left before completing them. So is there a site or kind of sample that you can direct people to in terms of, just examples of some of the materials that you actually identified today? I know we'll probably get a copy of the video just as a reference point. And then can you talk about the pricing model for the management tool that you use? We currently use Asana. You mentioned Slack, which we also use for quick communication with board members and volunteers. And then we also have a dedicated Drive as well on Google.
That's awesome. Okay, first, I completely forgot. I do have a template I was going to give, if that was okay, Kat, for free.
Please, I'll send it out after this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you the link with the discount. But I was gonna give that as a way just kind of help with the process and what to put inside of it and all that stuff. And I also include a template for what I have for my standard operating procedures. As far as the pricing model and everything, it honestly, ClickUp, it depends. They charge per person, so I have to pay for my team too. But it just depends what kind of stuff you're looking for. I just chose this one because of the automation features and stuff with it, but it honestly ranges. I think my plan was $9 a month per person or something like that. I don't remember, to be completely honest.
A lot of them offer
So
like a
that's pretty
nonprofit
cheap.
discount as well.
Yes, they do offer that. So like if you write them, like that's what I always tell people, like you're a nonprofit, you better write these companies. They will give you a discount or free half off something. But yeah, like you definitely just reach out to them. They are awesome. I love their customer support. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
you're welcome.
And I know Asana, for those of you who use Asana, there's so many great project management tools. Trello, Asana, ClickUp is great because it is pretty low cost. Asana, usually twice a year, Soup has an Asana deal where you can get the paid. But you can also probably do a lot with the free versions, right, Adriana? Like at the very least, having a checklist of what needs to happen when a gift comes in, right? Like you don't have to automate that with all the bells and whistles, because if you've never done it before, that might be overwhelming. And I know one of the things I've seen, and I would love to hear you talk how to break through that, is people will write up these procedures and it'll be a whole PDF that's 3 pages long about exactly what needs to happen when a gift comes in, and then it just never happens. And then we're back to someone stuck the grant contract on someone's desk. So how do you get people to put in place SOPs that are simple enough that they actually use them? Particularly, I have a feeling some of us are going, we don't have time for this. This sounds like a lot of work. How do you sort of rip the Band-Aid off if you can only carve out a little bit of time, or if it's just, getting going, getting some momentum?
Yeah, awesome. That is actually one of my favorite things. So I just let it be known prior, like, okay, I have an onboarding system depending on like if it's clients or my team members, whatever. So during that onboarding process, like I'll let them know in the video, like if I want them to come on, like, hey, you're gonna have to watch like a couple of these videos, like that kind of tells what's happening inside the business, just because like I don't want people working with me if you're not gonna take an initiative. And like I tell them it's paid and everything too. So that usually helps, like, oh, like the fire, oh, I can charge for this. But overall, I just tell them like it's part of your onboarding, let's watch the video. I try to make them super short, like as short as I can, like 5 minutes or under if I can. 3 minutes under, like honestly as short as I can with the videos and like the text and everything. And then like because of ClickUp, I can kind of like assign them the task and like have it repeat, like they click check or whatever. Yeah, I usually have them check it off. Or like with the video process that I use loom.com. So like whenever people click on the video, it tells me, so I can actually track that way to make sure they're actually watching the videos I told them to watch. So nice. Yeah, so I just I just let them know prior, and then normally I don't have any pushback. They kind of like expect it, but I just let them know like this is part of your onboarding. Like before you can even like do anything, like I have to make sure you understand that. And then when we start the work in progress, then I'll kind of like give them slow bit by bit like stuff to do, and then they can kind of like go off and be free, because I don't like babysitting.
So it sounds like really just one step at a time, right? Like you just got it, and gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could all take a week to get all our processes in place, or if we could all hire you. But barring that, do you have tips for if you're like, one of the things that's worked for me, and I don't know if that's best practice or not, is when I start doing something, I'll try to just at least jot down like the to-do list, right? And I use Trello, and so I'll just checklist that. And then kind of go back and clean it up. But if you've never done an SOP before or anything, and you're like, shit, I really got to get my gift processing to-do list going, when you are starting out with someone who's brand new, what are your tips for getting them to get their stuff together?
Yeah. Honestly, what you said is exactly what I tell people. I tell people it gets overwhelming because it's like, okay, I do all this stuff. Like, how am I supposed to jot down all this stuff? And I'm just telling them, like, just start with the day-to-day, just kind of like make note. Like even with my planner, I'll kind of like backtrack through my planner, like, okay, what did I do this day? Or like, what do I see like I'm continuously doing? And then I'll just kind of like jot down notes, like, okay, I did this, like, how did I do that? What system did I use? And just kind of like break it down that way. But it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pinned up. And like some of I'm not even like completely done with mine. Like I plan on taking the end of the year to like revamp some of the stuff, but just starting slow. You don't have to do it all at once. That's the main thing. Just start with one thing. If it's just one task that you continuously do, or you're about to outsource, or you're about to give to somebody, like make sure you have that done first. Just jot down notes, and you can always perfect it as time goes on, because this thing grows and builds, and you're always gonna have to adjust it anyway. So like just start. That's my advice.
Yeah, and I love your idea of
linking to Google documents and stuff. Because I know for me, particularly with I don't know about y'all, my Google Drive is a hot mess, right? And so I will spend like 10 minutes searching for something, and then I have like 18 versions of the spreadsheet I'm supposed to be up to. I love the idea of just like putting that in the checklist and probably saving myself countless hours of searching and clicking. Yeah. So, I had another question. I forgot. I would love to hear from other people.
Kimberly, again, just one question, and maybe this, Catherine, may be something you can also assist with, is I also struggle with, like, what procedures should be standardized, like which one should be passed down, specifically for board and then for staff within a nonprofit construct, right? And then also for volunteers. Are there any particular ones, and Adriana, of course, this is open to you as well, but also Catherine, with your experience in the nonprofit sector, that you certainly recommend? Of course, programming specifically is the one that's taking us the longest, because we've got so many programs that have so many details. But any others, because when you said onboarding, that was like a clicker for me. Like, that's a trigger. We know we need to standardize the onboarding process, like for volunteers or board members and the like.
Volunteers for sure. Yeah, I love the idea of, and Adriana, I'd love to hear which ones you do, but like, absolutely, I think that board members, Dr. Kim, being a board member myself, going through an onboarding process was so helpful, right? And it was really, really simple, but I imagine having it written down, like, new board member comes in, send them the board manual. Here's the PDF link, right? Schedule their email orientation, whatever it is. The areas that I see the most chaos are gift processing. Because I think that it's something that we all sort of know what we're supposed to do, but there's also, for those of you who do have a team, a lot of turnover, right, in those entry level positions. So if you've got a development coordinator, isn't that the dream? You've got a development coordinator doing gift processing, and then you promote them to grants manager, or they leave. And then what, right? Can the next person come in and know exactly your expectations for, this is the thank you letter we update, or this is the report we run for the board every month? I think gift processing for sure is probably a really easy one to start with, but definitely volunteers and board. Adriana, what else?
You pretty much like hit the nail on the head with that one. Like, I hear that one, and even with the nonprofit I came onto, I actually got them started to do an onboarding system, so they're still working on it. But like, when I came in, I was just like, oh, okay, like, what exactly am I doing next? Because I was just kind of like sitting there hanging around, like I was ready to help, but there wasn't anything really for me to do, because like they were kind of like set, because they've been there for years, so they were kind of like already set, and they were just trying to bring in new people. But when new people were coming, it was just kind of like we were just sitting there, and they were starting to lose people. So it's just like, okay, we got to figure out like what exactly how to stop that. But yeah, onboarding. When it comes to like, I'm saying like one of my clients has a nonprofit for girls. So what we had to do with her, like, turnover was definitely definitely a top, and like getting money and everything, like keeping that track. What I had to do with her was, of course, one, we actually had to sit down and like map out like what she wanted to do, like the onboarding process to look like. We had to map out what exactly you want volunteers to do. We had to map out like, okay, like she had contractors as well, and she also had like employees that work with her, or volunteers and everything. I don't know, I forgot what she called them, but she had them, the board members, she had like volunteers, and she also had like contractors like myself that kind of like helped. So we had to figure out like, okay, what exactly are you trying to do here? Because this is a lot and no one's knowing what they're doing. So we had to jot it down, make a list, like, okay, this person does this, you want the volunteers to do this, so who's going to be the person in charge of this, that, and the third. But overall, long story short, we just had to make sure we had everything like written out first before we try to even like create processes, because like we can create processes, but like if we don't have like a concrete plan, it wasn't working at the time. So I would just recommend a mapped out plan first. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
now I'm also having flashbacks to pulling files for auditors, right? For those of you who have a big enough org, you know, Dr. Kim, you might be at this point, a few others, to have to do your audit. Oh, there's nothing worse than when they come in and they say, okay, where's that grant award from, you know, 2017? Because we need to see blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, okay, hold on. Blah, blah, blah. And so it just saves so much time. But I remember being at a job where obviously the administrative manager had a really clear vision for why she was doing things, but she didn't tell me. And so the filing system to me seemed so obnoxious. And I was young and it was just like, why are we doing this? And it wasn't until the auditors came in and I had these really hard ass auditors that I got it. And I think if she had given me like a checklist of like, here's what to do, here's why, put it in this document, and then even got it too, like when the auditors come, even just that extra little bullet point would probably have helped me get the importance of like filing in triplicate and blah, 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 blah.
I'm here with my filigree theater hat on. I'm also co-president of the inaugural board for the Austin chapter of Women in Film and Television. And so we've been taking, for at WIFT, we've been taking this pandemic time while doing virtual programming and events to do a lot of these processes and like literally onboarding. And we've created, because we're having elections for our first elected board at the end of the summer, which is really exciting. And so it's like before we hand the organization to like potentially new board members, we're like, we need to make sure that we give them a roadmap. So we created something called the ABCs of WIFT. So the ABCs of WIFT, which literally each department chairs or each board chair, marketing, programs, events, our podcast team has gone through and said like, we have a document that like, this is what's expected of us. This is the, the expected time commitment. This is who we coordinate with. This is what our, it's different than our, board code of conduct, which we also have been writing this summer. But yeah, this is like, I'm like, yay, okay, good. Like it's making me feel happy, at least like for WIF that like we are doing. And as board members come on, as board members leave, like here's what they need to know. And here's what everybody working, because we're a small board too, but like here's what everybody else needs to know of like how to get somebody onto the Slack channel and how to get somebody off the Slack channel.
Oh my gosh, yes. Little things.
It's a process, and it's like it's an unsexy process, but in talking to our advisory committee, it's like we are building the foundations and pouring the concrete so that we shall be strong and mighty. but it's like, okay, this is like very validating that it's like all of this work is really important and has been worth the this is all addition to our like revamping the bylaws and all the things anyway. But yeah, like literally as each board member, each board team has written out their job description essentially, so that it clarifies for each other and then for new folks taking over when there is going to be turnover.
Yeah. So it sounds like for you, Elizabeth, too, it's not necessarily like sucking it out of your brain because it's all new, but thinking about all of the things that need to be done, like join the Slack channel, join this, and just writing it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And luckily, work makes the dream work, that it's like I'm the co-president, but it isn't just me doing it, right? We're working, but it is a team effort, which is great. But it's a different structure than the theater company, where Catherine, from your question, was like, how do you do this when you don't have time to do anything?
Yeah, for sure. I feel that. I definitely feel that. Well, so for those of you who, this might be either a new thing or something you're nerding out about, I would love to hear, what other questions you have for Adriana or just for the whole team about how to start this, or if you're already doing it, where do we go from here?
I was going to say, like, having a team that helps you do it is amazing. So yeah, that's definitely helpful.
trying to think of any other questions I have. I have so many. What are some of the really common mistakes you see when people start implementing these?
That's a good one, actually. I guess the common mistakes, I'll say probably the ones that we're hiring and they may have something down. Like I've had one client, like she had videos and everything, but like she would change her mind a lot. So like it didn't reflect what she actually wanted. So like we would go in and do the work and she's just like, oh, I didn't want it like that. And it's just like, well, you had it in the video. So I guess keeping things updated. So if you're about to outsource, I was going to say, like, if you already have videos, but you know you're about to outsource and you already changed your path, like just make sure to keep that updated and be mindful of that. I would probably say that's probably one of the top things I've dealt with. And other than that, I haven't had too many so far that had like, most of the time, like no one just has anything down. So like, of course, this is like, okay, well, you gotta have at least something so people can go by, especially like you're hiring. Because there is one person, like she had hired maybe like 3 or 4 people and they're all just kind of like waiting. And she was just like, oh yeah, so I have this person, this person, and this person. Like I kind of did like a little audit and I was just like, okay, so what exactly do you want them to do? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying to achieve? And she was just like, oh, like I just thought they would just did their job. So yeah, but yeah, overall, it was just not having enough information is the thing.
Yeah. So that advice you said of just really looking at like, what do you do every day and what can you just write down and at least bullet point it is probably really, yeah, if you don't do that, you're probably not going to get very far.
Yeah. It's like, it's great effort, but like, yeah, like if you're already paying some, especially if you're paying somebody, like make sure you just have that, at least at the bare minimum, have those things done so they can get to work and then you can kind of like do all the other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Sam, do you have any questions? Because you are the queen of organization and working with my little, goldfish brain. So you know the importance of this.
Gosh, I think so. I support work in another capacity with another hat on and came into that work in a place where there were not a lot of processes in place. And so I'm trying to support getting stuff organized as I transition out. And I think the same thing that keeps popping up is like your initial question, Catherine, of like how to get people to use it then, or like reference like what you're putting together. And so I am just letting my brain kind of wheel through, like not wanting to ask the same question, right? Like I think some of the challenges, like, I guess, so for those that are maybe even a little bit more old school than Google Docs, like, do you have any recommendations of like, like, is there even just like printing for them or like something like that, folks that maybe are a little less so tech savvy? I know some of our team is like less on the computer. And so just trying to figure out like what might be other ways to put that together also.
Yeah. So what I do with those, like for those that only want to use like maybe Google Docs or whatever, like print, for those that like that one, normally I just recommend that like they literally just print it out, or they have like something that they access regularly, so that way they know like it's in their face, or like sometimes say like write in your board or something, dude, because like this is business, like you gotta take initiative here. Like that, it just boils down to that, take initiative. But for that, usually like we do like the print and like with the videos and stuff, I still, if they can, like when we do like the one-on-one, like I'll still try to have them do like videos, especially if they're like really particular on stuff. But what I do is have like the transcript, and then I'll just kind of like take bits and pieces out of it, because for some reason, not for some reason, like whenever they do the video, like when they see themselves doing it, it seems to help like click, like, oh, okay, actually, wait, no, I want it done like this or this like that. And then we take the transcript, kind of like copy and paste some things into the Google Doc, and then just they have the print version. So like that way, whenever someone comes through, they can read it instead of like going to a video or trying to figure out one of these 1 million systems that are out there or something like that. So that's just my that's what's worked so far.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Do you feel like people get overly enamored of, or have you seen people get overly enamored of or overly tied to like, well, we have to have the perfect click up, base and all of this kind of stuff, or we can't do it if it doesn't have bells, whistles, and automation. And you're like, or you could just put it on a Post-it note and just do it. So how do you get people over that, like needing to be fancy and then not doing anything? Because I think that's the number one thing I've seen. Like, and I have a friend who is a virtual assistant, and she had a boss that every week wanted to create these like elaborate SOPs in Google Docs or this or Google Keep, and he wasn't doing it. And she was spending so much time creating plans. So how do you get people to just actually do it? I think, which is for pushing off of Sam's question.
Yeah, so sometimes those people hard to convince. Like you have to keep reminding them. Like I'm working with somebody now. Like she was just like, "Oh no, I should do this. Like we should do this. Like I saw this program." I'm just like, "Okay, but you're spending so much time trying to figure out the program, the perfect spot." I was just like, "We still need to fix like you're not even generating income and all this stuff. You're so worried about the other stuff." But normally I just kind of push them to saying, like, for me, like even for myself, like mine's not fully done and I teach it. like like it's never going to be completely done. It's never going to be perfect. Like it's just constant reminders. And like I'll just use myself here. I'm just like, I teach this, I do it for other people. Mine's not even like fully updated. I still need to go through and do videos, but I just tell them just start slow. Like you don't want to rush stuff. I was like, just think about most of the time people that are trying to rush stuff, they've had bad experiences with other people. So like a lot of times just because they just were either rushing stuff, so like they are kind of half doing stuff. So like I just kind of have to remind, like, what happened the last time you did this? Like remember you rushed through that and it didn't work out. So like let's try it this way. Or sometimes people like I just literally have to be bossy. Like no, we're not about to do that. Like I have to bring like their business into their face. Like we're doing this, like don't focus so much on that. Just do it enough so people can like get by. Like if you're hiring or whatever, like just do enough to get that done and then just go back to it. Because I mean, that's going to be like the main thing that's going to be a focus anyway. Like if you're outsourcing or having a team or whatever, just make sure those are done and then bring in other stuff. But just a constant reminder, like you don't have to be perfect. Like it's business, like everything, like it's gonna be trial and error, like with every component, like not even this is trial and error. Like just calm down.
Yeah. Kind of like calm down and do it. I think that is like, yes, calm down and do it. That's gonna be my mantra.
Because like, I think we get overwhelmed with it. It's just like, even for myself, when I first started doing mine, I was just like, oh God, because I got two organizations. I run the Lazy Millenial and I have another one. So I'm just like, okay, where do I start? Like, what am I about to do here? Like, what exactly? So like, I just started off with like, okay, what is the business about? Like, what is my mission and vision? Like, what exactly am I trying to do with these companies? So I did that first. And then once I did that, I was just like, oh, okay. So like, I do like itemized lists. That's how I work. So like, I'm like, okay, what do I use daily? So I wrote down all the programs that I do in my business. I have that in its own little component. And then the more I just kind of like added like little stuff, like, okay, wait, I'm doing this today. Maybe I'll do a quick video as I'm doing this, just to kind of remind myself to do this. And things were kind of all over the place at first, but they were done. It's just a matter of like organizing it. So like just getting started is just super helpful. It's honestly the only thing. And then like I just focus on like I break mine up into like months. Like, okay, like over the next 3 months, like what exactly am I trying to do with this company? Like what stuff am I pushing? So I'm like, okay, let me just start with that stuff. Like during the next 3 months, I'm only going to focus on this. Like right now, I'm taking a mini break from my other organization. So I'm not really worried about those procedures right now. But I'm just going to get to it when I can. So I'm not really working on it. It makes no sense for me to try to force myself to do it just because it's there. I'm working on this right now. Like I'm doing this. So I'm just going to focus on these. And then just breaking it down like that, however you want to break it down, is a lot easier and bite sizable instead of like trying to do like everything at once and missing stuff. And you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the number one things we hear in the nonprofit world is that we don't have time and we're too busy. And so even it sounds like taking 3 minutes to just reflect on what you just did, that recurring task, and writing it down, and even if it sounds like your 4-year-old wrote it, right?
Yeah.
Like, submitted grant, added deadline, whatever it is better than nothing. Yeah,
Right.
I love
Yeah, just want to like add a recent experience to that. I had just like started this document and I was like throwing things at the wall. I had 3 lists that were like all essentially the same thing, but in varying levels of detail. And I just didn't have the headspace to like sit down with that particular list to like organize it. And then one day I sat down and I had like 2 hours free, which is, you know, not always the case, but sat down and I just like looked at it again and I was like, oh, this feels super clear how to organize this now. And so I think like, even just like taking, you know, the time that you're saying to just like throw stuff down, then hopefully later, like when you have more headspace or like another moment of like a different type of clarity, I feel like it makes such a difference. And so what you're saying, it really resonates for me because it was just something that like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pass this document to anybody because this doesn't even make sense to me, but ultimately like came together. So thanks for sharing that point.
Yeah, that's exactly how my brain works. So I get it.
Yeah, so you said to walk away. The power of walking away, for sure.
Exactly. It doesn't get enough credit, but it helps.
I love it. Well, does anyone else have questions for Adriana? I could geek out all day about this kind of stuff. And I know we have a few folks who feel the same. So I want to make sure that we're able to use her. So any last questions? Okay.
No, I just wanted to say, Adriana, this is Kimberly. I'm sending a form through your website for some potential work with you. So thanks a lot.
Awesome. I'll get to that at some point today.
Love boundaries. Yeah, so, you know, definitely Adriana is such a wonderful resource, you know, to me as well. Follow her on Facebook. She always posts things and I'm like, shit, I got to do that. I can't. I'm like constantly on LinkedIn. She might think she's a mess, but I'm almost like, oh, I gotta write that down. So follow her. She will share the template. Yes, she had template share. We'll send this out, you know, in the next few days. And in the meantime, we don't have an August lunch and learn scheduled. We're going to be taking the month of August off, but in September we're going to be talking about self-care. So I think SOPs are a form of self-care as well. But we are lucky enough to have a mentor, you know, part-time team member that we rely on a lot, who's also a licensed therapist. So she's going to be joining us to talk about real self-care in the nonprofit sector, and how we can avoid burnout, how we can increase retention, all of those good things. We're also launching in September our Squid Squads, which is something people are asking for a while. So it's going to be a 6-month group coaching cohort. Like all of our programs, it's a pay what you want model with a base. I can't remember how much it is a month, but I'll share that information as well. So if you want ongoing support, and you're like, I just need someone to help me meet deadlines, help me get my SOPs in a row, talk about those management challenges or fundraising challenges, we would love to see you. And lastly, if you have ideas for future lunch and learns, folks that you want to hear from, or topics that are really keeping you up at night, please, you know, respond to our email wrap up and let us know, because we love programming what we think is going to be the most helpful for you, and meeting new people. So I will look forward to that. But Adriana, thank you so much. I am going to go update my Trello SOPs right now. While I have your smiling face burned in my brain so that I get it done. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with all of you.
Yes, it was nice. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.